Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to the second week of the art of storytelling. Man, I did a recap on Friday for y'all. Go ahead and hit your cameras for me, please. Friday was crazy, but this week is gonna be even crazier. Our first guest, many people do not know this. Many people do not know this. But if it was not for our guests, Project VOYCE to this day would not be standing. She put that organization on her shoulders and she carried it so that to the point that right now it is still up and standing. A lot of people do not know that. But, there's a story behind all that before we get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and step back and I'm going to let Thelma, a lot of people don't know that too, that I call her Thelma. You know what I mean? There's a story behind that too. You know what I mean? I'm going to let Shelby go ahead and take off. Go ahead, Thelma. You got it.
Thank you,
Oh,
Philly.
and one more thing too. If anybody have any questions, go ahead and throw that hand up for me, Day Day or Tank.
Well, thank you,
If you
Philly.
see that hand right there, Thelma, that's letting you know you got a question. So if you can end your thought when you see somebody put their hand up, that'd be great because let's go ahead and address these questions too. Cool?
Nice.
All right, you got it.
All right. Well, for those who don't know, I'm Shelby, like Phil said, aka Thelma to him. Born and raised in Denver, never lived anywhere else in my life. I'm a teacher in DPS. You can't hear? Is it loud enough?
We can't hear you.
Let me see. I'm muted. I'm muted. How about now? How about now?
Still no go.
No go? Let me see. It says it's not muted.
Still no go.
How about now? It says it's not muted.
You want to sign out and sign back in?
All right, let me try real quick. My bad.
Okay. Well, while she's waiting, you know what I mean? Just to give everybody who's still here a little insight on it, the art of storytelling, that's our opportunity where we're going to the members in our community to get their stories, the choices that they made that eventually made them. And it's very important that we take heed and listen just because of the fact that that's one way that we learn, from others' mistakes and others' failures. Others' failures and other successes. That's how we learn best. Same on the chessboard. How you doing, Thelma?
How about now? Does it work? No?
Still no.
No, it was just
Still
working.
No. Y'all can hear? Y'all can hear? Okay,
yeah?
Well, let me go ahead. Y'all do y'all's thing. I'm going to go ahead and see. Oh, it's good. You good.
You hear me now?
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
Yeah, you
All
good.
right. Well, thank you. Sorry about that. So yeah, thank you for the intro, Phil. That was kind. For those who don't know, like you said, my name's Shelby. I'm a Denver native, been here all my life, never lived anywhere else. I don't see myself going anywhere else either, honestly. I'm a teacher in DPS now. I've been teaching in Denver Public Schools for 2 years at a Contemporary Learning Academy. Some of you might know it, also known as CLA. It was the first alternative school in DPS that started in like 1980s. And I was actually a student there myself, so kind of brought it full circle. That was my goal, to go back and, really help serve the students that are much like I was at one point. And yeah, I'm a single mother. I have my child. There he is. I'm gonna say hi.
Meow.
He's joining me. I had my son when I was 17 years old. Got pregnant when I was 16. But that's also, there's another story kind of that leads into that. But just like, I don't know, just start from the beginning, Phil, with why I chose the topic I chose, basically.
Please. Yes, please.
So I said, basically don't let what they feel and say about you, what they do to you, make you, for a few reasons. One, when I was younger, some of my first memories growing up with my parents were really mostly unhealthy memories. I experienced a lot of abuse before the age of even 5. I experienced physical abuse, emotional, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of things that I didn't really even start to understand and heal from until way later in life. And grew up in, you know, situations where I was around alcoholism, I was around addicts, and, you know, that was kind of the norm for me, being around, um, I don't know, just pain, suffering. That kind of was something I was used to. It wasn't until I was around people in school or, you know, later in life when I was around people who, you know, had these tight knit families where they, you know, they didn't yell at each other, they didn't put each other down, where they felt safe at home. I didn't really experience that. I know what that was like until later in life. Um, when I was much older, a big part of my life also changed, in my life chapters in my life started when my older brother passed away when I was 12 years old. He died the day after my 12th birthday, due to his involved. He was drinking, also doing drugs. He was only 17 at the time, got in a car accident. And you know, that not only tore me apart, but it tore my mom apart. You know, it tore anybody in my family who I would have known at that time apart. Nobody was really there for us. My mom got really heavy into drugs and her addiction, and kind of lost sight of the fact that she still had a child there to take care of. So, you know, at the age of 12, I really had to start fending for myself, whether it was eating, whether it was finding money, whether it was, you know, getting my needs met. My first job, I was like 13, 14 years old, making money, to get myself a phone, to put clothes on my own back, because I couldn't count on nobody to do it for me. Um, and I had a lot of people, you know, I was very angry. So I got in a lot of trouble in school. I got suspended a lot. I got expelled from school. By the time I was in 8th grade, I was expelled from Horseman Middle School by like September. And you know, that's like what, 3 weeks into the school year. Um, and all these, you know, with all that on me, being an angry child, a disrespectful student, a disengaged student, I got all these labels, and that people were telling me I was a bad person, and that, you know, it wasn't just my anger issues, it's that I was a bad kid, and I started to believe it. So I started to act in the way that they told me I was. You tell me I'm a bad person, I'm gonna show you a bad person. So I hated my teachers for that reason, mostly up through elementary and middle school. I never really connected with any teachers, actually. No educators were on my list of people I respected because of how they treated me. Even though I was at home hurting, I was suffering, you know, I needed somebody to reach out and tell me it wasn't my fault. And nobody did that. And so I was very angry, and I took it out on my teachers, my peers, whatever. And that's what eventually led me to being expelled from Horseman Middle School in 8th grade. And I was sent to Prep Center, which was the first alternative school I ever had the chance of going to. And that place, honestly, I'd say was one of the first things, the moments in my life that changed my life forever. Because for the first time, and this is 8th grade, I had educators who looked at me like I was a human being and not like I was a problem child. Like, they treated me with respect. They didn't just assume I was going to come into their school and wreak havoc. A few educators in particular, my mentor to this day, Michelle Montoya, was my teacher at the time, and Gary Losh, who still is like a dad to me. Both influenced me and showed me that there are people out there who can care about you and show you what safety is like, and influence you to do better. And that's exactly what they did through their relationships with me. They showed me that school would really be my only way out of my suffering, and the circumstances that I was living in and the trouble I was getting into would only continue to go deeper and deeper if I wasn't willing to change some of the things that I was doing and the behaviors that I was displaying. A lot with my anger, but mostly just, you know, I didn't care. I didn't care about people at school. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anything. You know, when I go home, I was suffering. I lost my brother. I was, you know, grieving. I didn't know what that was like. I didn't have role models in my life who I trusted and could look up to. So they really became like my safe haven for me. And at 15 years old, they're the ones who like inspired me to become a teacher myself. Because it was, if it wasn't for them, I definitely would not have made it to where I am now at all. So yeah, with that, I uh, started to view school as a place to
So,
change.
so during this whole time, where was your dad at? What was your relationship like with your dad?
So at the time, my dad actually, he has been in my life all my life, but I lived with my mom. So I went to see him on the weekends, if that. But he was a heavy alcoholic, so he drank very heavily, and it caused a lot of problems between us, between me and my mom, between him and my mom. So for the first, I'd say half of my life, that was a lot of my memories with him was just really him and his alcoholism. But now I could say that after my son was born, he quit drinking on my son's first birthday, around my son's first birthday, and he hasn't drank since.
That's dope.
So he has since then, become a male figure in my life who I can trust and look up to more than anybody in a way that I couldn't at first in my life early on. So my mom was originally, the one I was with more, but I was experiencing kind of abuse on both ends. So, where he now to this day is the person I can feel like I can support, or who can support me, and vice versa. My mom, unfortunately, is still kind of succumbing to some of her addictions and some of her health issues. So not so fortunate, but my dad has definitely changed completely from the man he was. And honestly, he said a lot of that is because of my son. When I got pregnant, they wanted me to have an abortion, and I was going to have an abortion. I had that appointment scheduled, and it wasn't until the day of that appointment that I told him I wasn't going to do it and that I couldn't do it. And since then, both of them have told me, thank you for making that choice, because if I would have listened to them, we wouldn't have the best blessing in our lives right now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So I couldn't listen to them then. The support systems I found after that really just helped continuing to lead me in better directions, making better choices. And I had to also stop being around certain people. Like, you have to really choose, who you want to surround yourself with. And, I had to make the choice. I no longer want to be around people who are, gang banging, selling drugs, doing drugs. I got into drugs heavy a lot when I was younger as well, before I had Levi. And that led to, some people I know, right, who are no longer with us. People who I did drugs with, unfortunately, I could say they lost their battles to that. And it's really sad now to look back on and to know that I was able to come out of that, but not everybody was. But I think a key of that was having some of the people and positive people I was fortunate to find in my life that, weren't my family. They weren't my intended support system, but they became the people who I could go to. So yeah, I found Project VOYCE actually when I was 16. So it was before I got pregnant with Levi. I was at a school called Skyland Community High School. It was my second alternative school I had ever been to after prep. They helped find me another school because I started at George Washington, hated it. I cannot do well in traditional schools at all. Not my forte as a student, and I don't know yet as a teacher. I haven't had opportunity to work in a bigger school yet as a teacher. Maybe one day we'll see, but I don't know. I liked it in alternative schools, and that's what led me to Project VOYCE. Originally just as a trainer or a trainee, I was hired like everybody else, the $7.50, $8 an hour as a trainee. Just really knew nothing about it at all. It was just, hey, I need a job and you guys are willing to pay a 15, 16-year-old to do it. So that's kind of how I found it initially, but quickly fell in love with the mission because I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and it gave me the opportunity to, really get involved in education in Denver on many, many levels. The best part I'd say was us training students, hiring students, when we would do the applications and people would turn in applications, be so excited. We'd do their interviews and hire them and watch them, go from that application to, amazing leaders doing great things like behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. Like that was some of the best years of my life, definitely with Project VOYCE. And I wouldn't have found Project VOYCE if it wasn't for those few educators that I had at that alternative school. So, one little thing led to another. If I would have passed up that opportunity and disrespected those adults like I disrespected every other adult in my life, I might have missed a whole lot of opportunities.
That's dope. Let's go back. Day, I saw you had a question.
Yeah. So, like growing up, knowing like you didn't have like support or nothing, what like kept you pushing into going to like schools and stuff?
I'd say initially the first thing would be I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn as heck. So when I make my mind up about something, like that's what it is. And I decided I wanted to do better. And like just that thought in my mind, knowing that I had a goal to get myself out of the situation I was in, and reminding myself every day that if I keep pushing and keep showing up to that school every day, that that's what's going to happen. That was my reminder. And the quote my teacher always used to tell me, I actually got it tatted right here on my arm, was "Be the change you wish to see." And I actually never even heard that quote before. So when she told me that, it really like hit home. Like, if you really want to change, you got to do it for yourself. And nobody was going to do it for me. If it was all right with my mom, if I stayed home from school every day, she didn't care. I'd get suspended. She wouldn't even come get me. They'd have to just end up finally letting me go. So it was really knowing that if I was by myself, and if I didn't do it, nobody else would do it for me.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I saw somebody else had a hand, Galaxy S9. Who got that Galaxy S9?
Mm.
Who's that?
Come on.
That's my sister, ain't it?
Yeah. Hello?
What question you got?
I'm so sorry. I've known Shelby my whole life, and I really, really wanted to know because I don't think I ever asked. What the hell made you want to be a teacher?
Mr. Law, I don't know. Like I said, like, it's easy to say the two educators who I said before, Mr. Losh and Miss Montoya, but I don't know. I felt like I just wanted to give back, and I care about people. Like, I'm a natural caretaker. I take care of people always before I take care of myself. And I feel like there's such a high need in our country and our world right now for, us to have better human beings. And I think one of the first places to do that and to really reach people is in the classroom, because
Yes, indeed.
later it's too late.
Yes, indeed.
I get it. I get it. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Please continue.
So yeah, where was I? Project VOYCE, I think, was where I was at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I was at Project VOYCE, I was a sophomore, junior in high school. Then I got pregnant. Mr. Brian Barha was one of the first supportive people in my life around that time, when about the pregnancy. Everybody else, when I told him I was pregnant, I got that same reaction, like, oh, like, okay. Not many people, I feel like at the time, thought I could do it. When I was a student actually at CLA, one of the counselors there told me it might be easier to drop out, because even though I was a junior in high school, only had a year left, it'd probably be easier for me to drop out being a parent and just get my GED.
And this is a teacher.
That was a counselor. Yeah, a counselor. Thankfully she ain't there anymore. And so that was another example of, people telling me what I should be and what I should do, when I knew that that's not what I wanted, and that's not at all the potential that I could reach. So I had Levi, like I said, when I was 17, and, everything changed, of course, being a single mom. Me and his father were together up until he was about 3 months old, and then that didn't work out. So we have been separated since my son was born, and I graduated from Justice High School 8 months later at the top of my class. I was the first graduating class at Justice High School.
Top of the class. Whoa, whoa.
Woo-hoo. Yay. There was only 11 of us, but it still counts. But yeah, I mean, and that was also, seeing the benefits that I was getting by changing my mindset and valuing my education. I was able to walk across that stage and see my parents there, and, tell them I was going to be the first in my family to go to college. And that's exactly what I did. I enrolled at Metro 2010, right in the fall, right after that, when I graduated. And it took me a while, being, that I could only go part-time sometimes. I was working 3 jobs at times while I was in school. I was working at Project VOYCE. I worked for Denver Scholarship for a little while, doing like data entry. I worked for, where else did I work? I worked
Subway.
I worked at Subway. I worked at Denver Justice. Actually, I went back and I was the custodian there for like the last 4 years that I was in college. Yeah, I worked at Auraria Parking and Transportation. I worked everywhere because I had to, I had to do it. Once again, I couldn't rely on nobody else to do it for me. So I did what I had to do for me and my son. And I was able to, with the help of other people, Nate Easley is also another person who came into my life and supporting me with, helping me find childcare, because childcare is ridiculous. It was like $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so he helped me find resources for that and supported me with that. Another blessed person in my life, Sonia, helped pay for my books last few years that I was in school, because that's not something I was able to really do on my own and pay bills. So just repeatedly, all these people kept coming into my life, who were good, genuine people and wanted to give back, and they saw potential in me that sometimes I didn't always want to see when I was younger. But thankfully, because of people like that, I was able to move forward and get that degree. It took me 8 years at Metro. A lot of it I feel like still like was crap. Honestly, college sucks in so many ways, because I don't think it really prepared me to be a teacher, to be honest. But I got that piece of paper. Nobody can take that away from me.
That is. There you go.
I graduated in that class, to have my son there cheering me on that time, because the first time he was only 8 months old, but to have him there when I graduated college, like, that made it all worth it. To now have a classroom of students every day who come to see me. We don't do crazy ass facts. We do fun fact for that ass Friday. So every Friday, I make him tell me something about them that I don't know. And, I have students still, telling me, what's your fun fact online? Like, what's your fun fact? Even though we're not even seeing them in the building, like, that has just made it all worth it to come full circle. And now I'm able to give back to my community and the students in my community who are just like I was, and help them in a way that I needed help at that time.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact for that ass, huh?
Yeah, that's what we call it. When everybody else comes in the room, like, we call it Fun Fact Friday when I write it on the board. But we know it's Fun Fact for that ass Friday.
All right.
Yeah, that's me coming full circle. Want to possibly get back into school. Maybe I'm looking into do more like psychology wise, seeing that there's such a need for mental health, mental help in the world and in our communities, in our schools. Like, our students, the majority of them have experienced so much trauma, like, it's hard for me to just get up and try to teach them. Like, that's not really what I can do. So that's kind of my goal now, is to figure out ways to really meet the needs of my students, not just competencies on the rubrics and expectations from the curriculum. And yeah, that's a whole nother story.
We've been you've been working with you for a while now, right? And I asked this question to all of our guests who come in, what you doing the work, and with, I know some of the people who who have passed from, from being in the streets and stuff like that. How do you deal with the death of a youth who you came in contact with? How do you deal?
That's a hard one. Yeah, I remember, that makes me think of somebody very well. Remember Mr. Stevenson?
Mm-hmm.
I remember he was my teacher at prep, and when I was his first student, when I was first in his classroom, he told us about how many of his students' funerals that he had been to, and by the time I met him, it had been well over like 40 different funerals that he had been to. And so I kind of already knew, obviously, that was going to happen. And then the day that it really did, and the first person, who I like, even recently this last year, Destiny, Roderick, like, to see these lives gone, it does take a toll on me, because I'm such a, like I said, I'm such a caretaking person. I really have to like focus on my own self-care, because I take it all in. I feel everything, and like, it really, really breaks me when I initially hear things like that. And it also kind of puts that plug on to remind me why I'm doing it. It's easy for me to like beat myself up sometimes, be like, maybe I could have did more, maybe if I would have reached out, or maybe if I were in their life more. And that's hard sometimes to get through. So that's why I think, self-care is huge. That's something I did not at all know about growing up. But over the years, I've had to learn about ways that I need to take care of myself, and that it's okay to be selfish when you're speaking of your own mental health and your own well-being. It's okay to sometimes put yourself first, and remember, you got to take care of you before you can ever try to take care of anybody else. Because I'm not at my best, there's no way I can go out and help my students, lead them down a good direction.
Yes, indeed.
So it's been hard. Hopefully I don't, I don't ever have to say the same thing Mr. Stevenson said. I don't ever want to have to say I've gone to that many funerals ever. So hopefully the things we do daily are making an impact and preventing that.
Mm. As a parent, I know a lot of folks who were teen parents who, dropped out. As a parent, do you ever feel discouraged as a parent? Do you ever feel like you're failing? Do you ever feel like your son deserves more? Do you ever feel like you should be in another space? How do you deal with that?
I mean, I think as a parent, we all face those moments sometimes.
Yeah.
It's inevitable, like, it's going to happen. I think if you really, are putting your child first, you should be thinking you're not doing it right, because there is always something that you can do for them more. But no, I have said me and my son have such a good relationship. He tells me regularly and I tell him regularly, like, he's so thankful for me and I'm so thankful for him. Like, we have that bond. We have that relationship to where, he's my best friend and I'm his best friend. I built a relationship with him that I didn't have with my parents when when I was his age. And I think that has really helped me. And he reminds me sometimes, that you're doing fine, like, chill out. Like, when I get stressed or feel like, last year was really hard for both of us. I think last year was the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a parent, when I had to tell my son that his dad died. And when I had to watch him bury his dad. And of course, throughout the year, I felt many times like I wasn't doing it good. Like, I wasn't being, as strong for him as I could be. Like, he was sometimes being more strong for me and, supporting us more. But, that's just the reality of being a parent. And I think the biggest thing is that I do acknowledge to him when I'm wrong. I tell him, like, I'm sorry, I apologize to him, and I'm willing to admit when I make mistakes. And that sets an example for him, because then he does the same. If we get into an argument and he gets loud and he has to separate himself, he will be one of the first ones to come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that to you. I shouldn't have said that. Or, I didn't mean to not listen to you. So I think, it's just consistency is key, for real, and making sure to do that every day, because yeah, I've definitely felt that way. And I probably feel that way again soon, especially being locked in this house all day with him and, not having many outlets to go to. But it makes it worth it when he can sit there and tell me, he loves me and mom ever, and I'm his best friend. So
That's dope. That's dope.
been fun.
That's dope. What do you want him to be when he get older versus what does he want to be?
I want him to be happy. I don't care what he wants to do. He actually, believe it or not, since the time he was about 3 or 4, has said he wants to be a teacher, a math teacher, because he loves math. So, if he keeps that goal, that would brighten, my life even more, to know that he's taken after his mama and, wants to give back and wants to help teach the next generation. But I don't care if he wants to be a teacher or not. I don't care, honestly, if he wants to go to college. I just care that he finds something that he's passionate about and that he loves, so that he doesn't have to work a day in his life.
This question is Shalane, that's you, right? That's Shalane, right? Galaxy S9.
Yeah.
All right, Shalane, this question is for you in regards to Thelma. In 2000, I met her in 2010, all right? Think about where she was in 2010 and think about where she is right now. What's different?
Oh God. A lot. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm at work. But it's a lot. I mean, I've known Shelby my whole entire life. So between 2000, when 2010 hit, that I can say as her friend, that was probably the most I've ever seen her broken. She really didn't know how to like deal with how do I say, like, problems, or basically she reacted. If something happened, she reacted the best way she can.
Mm.
Between then and now, this is a completely different Shelby. I'm so proud of how far she's came. She's not as hot-headed anymore. She definitely does what she can to listen and, you know, to understand. Because I mean, for me, I mean, her best friend or, you know, her friend, I'm very sensitive. So me and her have completely different personalities. So when, you know, when she knows, when she comes to me, she can't, you know, just jump down my throat without me like bursting into tears. So she really, you know, I mean, had to eventually learn, you know what I mean? Like she's learned compassion and
Mm.
understanding, and I mean, she's definitely not the same Shelby in 2010.
Mm.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Mm. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Bede, was that your hand?
Yeah.
What you got?
So like, what like helped you like when you get angry and stuff? What calms you down? What am I looking for? Yeah, like what helps you like calm down when nobody's around and stuff?
That's a good question. Honestly, because I'm still kind of developing that. Like I'm still finding ways, but I've noticed over the years, being that I am a Taurus, I'm a earth sign and I connect very well. Like I need to be with the earth. I need to be like whether it's outside on the grass or whether it's gardening. I love to garden. I love to be touching the earth. I love fresh air. By water, any place by water. So, Sloan's Lake, I live not far from Sloan's Lake, but any body of water like that I can go to and just walk by or just get fresh air for me has been probably one of the best things because it allows me, takes me physically out of whatever situation I'm in and puts me in a healthier one and reminds me because I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a very religious person, but I believe in the earth and the universe, and we're all connected. And so when I force myself to even put my bare feet on some grass for some grounding or just smell some fresh air outside, it really makes a difference. And I need it. Like I have found I need that in my life to refresh myself and to rejuvenate myself, or else if I go too long without, some outdoor time or, fresh air, that I do get too like hot-headed and I just get cranky. And food always helps too. I love food. Like I love to go places, I love restaurants. I love trying new food. So yeah, any food will make me happy too. But we're all different, we all have ways that we need to find that we weren't always taught that are healthy. I think that was the biggest thing for me too, is when I was younger I learned how to self-medicate. I learned how to smoke, I learned to drink to drown your problems. And even still in my life, the most of my influences, a lot of them, that's still what they do. So some of the closest people I have to kind of separate myself from and remember, like we got to do positive things, whether it's go for a hike, go to the Lookout Mountain and just look at the stars or whatever it is. We got to find the things that make us happy and do them, because
Yes, indeed.
that's not something I was taught when I was younger, especially in healthy ways.
All right, I got one more question.
Yeah.
Who do you look up to?
Just one person?
It don't matter.
I don't know.
Like what just motivated you to step into what you is right now? Like what motivates you and stuff? Who you look up to?
I'd say throughout every chapter of my life, I probably had somebody different I was looking up to at that time for the time what I needed in my life at that moment. When I was younger, it was Miss Montoya. She's the one who taught me be the change you wish to see. As I got older, Mr. Losh helped me with grit, teaching me, to never give up, work hard. My dad now also teaches, he's the hardest worker I ever know, probably. So, that's one. Now I would say, honestly, the person I look up to the most is my son. He taught me more compassion than and patience than anybody else in this world could have ever taught me. And seeing what he has gone through in this last year, I still have my dad. I still have both of my parents. So seeing my child so young to struggle through that, but to still, ask me how I'm doing or call his grandma and ask her how she's doing, like that's a level of compassion I truly strive to reach.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Any other questions? Comments, compliments.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for listening.
Thank
No
you, Thelma. One more thing, if nobody caught anything that you had said this whole time, what is one message that you want to send us with if we ain't catch nothing? What would that message be?
I say, one, be the change you wish to see, and don't let anybody's perception of you, what they say about you, or anything affect how you feel about you. Because really, it came down to, I had to believe that I was better than what I was being told, and I had to prove it. And so I was able to be the change and to show people that, I'm not what they say I am. I'm not how they treat me, even from the time I was young with all the abuse, I didn't deserve that. And, that I didn't deserve, and I don't want to do that to anybody else, so that's one of the biggest things I would say is, find out who you are, who you want to be, and don't let anybody's opinion get in the way of that.
Alrighty, that'll work. Thank you, Thelma. Thank you again for your time. Thank you so much. Again, we on all week, 3 o'clock every day. Come on in, tune in. Thank you again, Thelma.
Thank you, guys.